Assemblymember Pfeffer, and you'll be followed by Adonis Rodriguez, member of the New York City Council.
Okay. Good morning. Good morning. Once again, I find myself testifying before the MTA Board regarding the toll on the Course Bay Bridge and the Rockaway Rebate Program. Most of you have already heard my arguments why the toll on the Course Bay Bridge is, in my estimation, an illegal, unfair, and unjust toll, causing residents of the same borough, the same community board, the same school district, the same police precinct, the same zip code, even the same street, to pay a toll. It is the only intra-borough toll in the nation. However, here I am once again pleading with the members of this board not to burden the residents with another toll increase. There are two proposals that the MTA Board is considering. One will have a devastating effect on the residents of my district. It would cripple the already overburdened residents of my community. The cash-only hike plan is the only option the MTA should be considering. This option would allow Easy Pass users to not endure another hike. Residents must use their Easy Pass in order to participate and receive the residence discount. They are not given a choice to use cash. While I recognize that obtaining an Easy Pass is a hardship for many, my community was forced to obtain and use Easy Pass in order to receive the resident discount. As a community that has overwhelmingly embraced the Easy Pass program because we had no other choice, I wholeheartedly support the cash-only hike plan. This cash-only hike plan is not only supported by residents who participate in the rebate program, but is also supported by many commuters throughout the city of New York. The cash-only plan was inspired by many individuals who testified at your public hearings. Cash transactions are less efficient, more costly, and create a burden on traffic flow and congestion. The cash-only plan created an incentive for drivers to utilize the most efficient Easy Pass program. The Cross Bay Bridge toll must be eliminated for all. That is the ultimate goal. However, for now, the cash-only hike is the only option we will accept.
Please summarize your comments.
Thank you. I'm just summing up. I have heard that you are now considering only a 5% hike on Easy Pass. I am disappointed, even with this 5% increase, and would hope that you listen and help my constituents. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is the Honorable Adonis Rodriguez, member of the New York City Council, followed by the Honorable James Vaca, also a member of the New York City Council.
Morning, everyone. I'm so happy to say that in the last transportation hearing, the representative of the MTA shared with us that we will not have any fare hike for the next 4 years. So it was a response that we got to one of the questions when it comes to increasing our fare. We will have to face another hike for the next couple of years. And the answer was not, that right now what you as a board has in place, that we will not have any fare hike for the next 4 years. So at least that's a good news. But I also hope that the board member reconsider the decision on increasing the tolls. This is not the best time, especially for the working class, middle class New Yorkers, to pay and to have another toll hike in the city. And that's why I'm here today, to express my opposition to any increase in the toll hike, but also to say that we should not replace new drivers. We should not remove the numbers of drivers that they've been transporting the seniors and disability community with new drivers that they don't have that experience. Estamos aquí porque nos sentimos muy complacidos. Uno, que la MTA compartió en el Consejo Municipal que no van a hacer un aumento de transportación por los próximos 4 años. Por lo tanto, es una buena noticia, esperamos que se mantenga. Y segundo, porque creemos que es incorrecto el que ahora también se aumenten la transportación en los puentes y que se afecten las personas en disability. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman. Next speaker is the Honorable James Vaca, New York City Council member, and you'll be followed by Joanne Shapiro.
Hello, members of the board. I'm James Vaca, and I'm chair of the Transportation Committee of the New York City Council. Thank you for allowing me this opportunity to speak concerning E-ZPass. The MTA is voting today on a toll hike proposal that would not only raise tolls across the board, but would also do so by charging drivers at the cash-only lanes a substantially higher toll than those who use E-ZPass lanes. I must state, first of all, very emphatically, I think most of you know how I feel about the increasing fares and the increasing tolls. If anyone out there really thinks that the rent is too damn high, well, the fares and tolls are also too damn high for people to afford. The reality is not only are those tolls and fares too damn high, there's a disconnect that we've had relative to service decreases at the same time we've had fare and toll increases. So always keep in mind how strap hangers feel alienated by this entire process. But I wanted to comment specifically on your move toward charging cash-paying motorists more. We're all on the same page when it comes to using E-ZPass. Not only do cars using cash-only lanes create unnecessary backups and require more staffing, but with the Henry Hudson pilot program, the MTA appears to be moving to a day where cash lanes could be eliminated totally. Yet at the same time we need to encourage E-ZPass use, we also need to acknowledge that we have people in our city who do not have credit cards or checking accounts, people who live on fixed incomes or very limited incomes and simply cannot afford the high monthly prepayments that E-ZPass requires. So the question is not, is it fair to charge more at cash-only lanes, but how do we make E-ZPass easier to use and easier to access for our seniors and for low-income New Yorkers and for those living hand-to-mouth? There is an item on today's agenda that would create E-ZPass reload cards, which would allow drivers to fill up their E-ZPass accounts through cash payments at locations throughout the city. It's a good first step. But the MTA could do more. One, first, the MTA should direct E-ZPass to accept prepayments on a weekly rather than a monthly basis to accommodate those who do not have the resources to pay one lump sum at the start of a pay period. We already know that many low-income New Yorkers choose to purchase 7-day Metro cards instead of 30-day Metro cards, even though it costs more over the long run because they cannot afford to shell out $90 at one shot. The same logic applies to E-ZPass, and allowing smaller, more frequent payments would go a long way toward making E-ZPass more accessible and affordable.
Please summarize your comments, sir.
Second, while E-ZPass already accepts payments by check or money order, the MTA could make those payments more convenient by allowing direct electronic payments through money transmitters such as Western Union or Payamatic, which are affiliated with check cashing institutions across the city. Con Edison, Verizon, and New York City Housing Authority already authorized those payments. And if E-ZPass followed suit, New Yorkers who frequent check cashing institutions could designate a portion of their paycheck to their toll expenses at the same time they're paying their rent or electric bills. We agree we should expand E-ZPass use, but if we want all New Yorkers to use E-ZPass, including those who are having the hardest time paying the increasing tolls and fares, I hope you'll consider the proposal I'm advancing today.
Thank you, Councilman. Our next speaker is Joanne Shapiro, followed by Mr. X.
Good morning. Joanne Shapiro, Chief of Staff for New York State Assemblywoman Audrey Pfeffer. However, I'm here today testifying on behalf of the community I reside in, Rockaway Beach, Queens. I have brought with me over 400 copies of letters that were sent to the MTA Board from our community demanding that the Easy Pass toll not be increased. We are tremendously overburdened, as you've heard time and time again. I've also been asked to read a letter on behalf of Danny Rossello, the president of the 100th Precinct Community Council. As a resident of Rockaway Park, Queens, president of the 100th Precinct Community Council, and board member of Community Board 14, I am calling upon the MTA board members to vote down the toll increase for Easy Pass users. I would also like to ask the MTA board this question: when will it be enough? We are already overburdened. Please listen to the people of Rockaway. No toll increase. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Mr. X. And you'll be followed by Murray Bowden and then Gene Reshinoff.
You had 9 public hearings in September. I testified in all 5 boroughs for the first time in 7 years. I only saw half of the board members. What happened to Ed Watt? I never saw him at any of the public hearings I testified. Doesn't he work for TW Local 100? Doesn't he care about the union members? What happened to him? And more important, what happened to Paul McCartney? You had a board meeting here on October 7th. I knew nothing about that board meeting before time. You didn't have it on your website. I found out about it hours later. So this is what you do. You hold a board meeting and you don't bother telling anyone. That doesn't make any sense. I was expecting you to wait until today before deciding what our fate should be. You already decided what my fate should be on October 7th. Only reason I'm here because I figured I had nothing to do. But no, Jay, that was unacceptable. If you're going to hold a board meeting, you should advertise on the website. Okay? The October 7th board meeting wasn't advertised before time. I don't know why you held it. You should have waited until today. But I see you're in a hurry. I was expecting the fare and toll increase to start on January 1. They're starting on December 30. You can't decide when you're going to start. You're going to start on December 30. You're going to start on January 1. Why don't you start wait until January 1? And what's happening in 2013? You talk about what's happening in 2000. What's happening in 2013? Is the fare going to increase to $250? And another thing I understand, the base fare is $225. But yet, in the future, if we buy a single ride ticket, we have to pay $250. Now, I'm confused about that. The base fare remains at $225, but the single ride ticket will increase to $250. That doesn't make any sense. The single ride ticket fare should also be $225, since you're keeping the base fare at that price. That's lopsided. Both fares should be the same, not different. That's confusing. And a $1 surcharge for a new MetroCard? What's the point of a $1 surcharge for any surcharge for a MetroCard? We're already paying for the MetroCard. We're adding fares to it. There's no need for it.
Please summarize your comments.
I'll sum up when I get around to it, Douglas.
Please summarize at this point.
I can't deal with you today. I really can't. I can't be bothered with you.
Please summarize.
I really can't. This is getting ridiculous. How you do things, the way you do things is unbelievable. Like I said, if you're keeping the base fare at $225, the single ride ticket price should also be $225. That makes sense. But you can do what you want. This is your call. Do what you want.
Please conclude. Thank you. Next speaker, Murray Bowden, to be followed by Gene Reshinoff.
Good morning. Chairman Walter, they've given you an extraordinarily difficult job to do. What you have to unwind is the shenanigans that's gone on for the last 10 years, and you're doing it in a really good way. For the record, I've never met him, never shaken his hand, have never had a discussion with him. One of the things that you need to look at is the Nathan Air Chime testing chambers for train horns. The real question is, why do you blow the train horn at the Hartsdale station? It's a high-level station, and it's something that's happened 100 years ago, and they haven't been able to change it. Using your electronics and public address system, people on a station would know a train is coming. The other problem was coming in this morning, security asked me to empty my pockets. I had a problem with that once before, and in my pocket this morning, I had a Durex Pleasure Pack Performax Intense Sensational Tropical 3 Premium Lubricated Latex Condoms. Well, they asked me to throw this in a cardboard box at security for everybody to see. Now, I don't mind taking my metal out, but my wallet with my money in it doesn't belong in that box. And I came back from 2 weeks in the Silk Road with Elder Hostel. I got back a week ago Monday. I went through security in dozens and dozens of places. They check me because somehow they know it's me. First thing I did was make friends with security. Nobody asked me to take my condoms out of my pocket. Is any one of you of the board willing to empty your pockets the same as I had to? Now, I think that's something that you need to look at. I think this is personal. My Viagra is personal. Why are you laughing? You all use it.
No, we don't.
It's been a pleasure to be here.
Mr. Bowden?
Oh, by the way, one last thing. Michael, the chairman who's in charge of your construction, I heard him speak at the Transportation Summit a couple of weeks ago. He knows exactly what he's doing. He was perfectly clear, and he was about the only one there. You're excellent. And he's the guy to listen to. He knows what he's talking about.
Okay. Thank you very much. Our next speaker is Gene Rushinoff, followed by Veronica Vanderpool.
And now for something completely different. I'm Gene Rushinoff with the Strap Bangers campaign. And it is that time of year again for the Strap Bangers campaign to trick or treat the MTA. 2010 was a scary year for your riders, and we hope, like you do, for better in 2011. So why don't we just go right to the pumpkin? We normally we give out doctored candies, but in the cost-cutting move, we moved to fortune cookies. So they're specially themed with transit in mind. Several of the fortune cookies touch on the service cuts. So one of them reads, your unlucky numbers: 173, that's the number of cleaners that were cut; 37, bus routes axed; and 104, which is what the new 30-day Metro card will cost. And another reads, there are 8 million people in New York City. With cuts to service, it will feel like most of them are on your bus. Some of them poke genial fun at your cost-cutting moves, and I hope they'll be taken in that spirit. So one reads, you will meet a tall, bald stranger, and he will try cutting MTA administrative costs by hundreds of millions of dollars. And to get new resources, the MTA will charge riders an extra $1 if they get a seat, 50 cents if it's a poll. Some of the fortunes reflect the sad experiences of your riders on a daily basis. Here's a favorite. A journey of 1,000 steps begins with a single announcement. Attention, there is no downtown service. And countdown clocks showing arrival times will be equipped with displays saying, ha ha ha. The last fortune expresses a hope that we have that maybe it's not in vogue politically these days, but it's going to have to be for the riding public to get better service. And that's, in a tough economy, it's wise for Washington, Albany, and City Hall to invest in job-creating transit. And we have a bunch of folks in the audience that they can hold up their signs. And, you know, it's a simple message, riders to Albany help. It's going to happen despite what's going on in the economy. Okay, take care. And if someone could pass out the cookies.
Thank you very much. And our next speaker is Veronica Vanderpool from Tri-State, and Artina Hannon.
Good morning. My name is Veronica Vanderpool, and I'm the Associate Director of Tri-State Transportation Campaign, a regional policy watchdog organization working for better transit and transportation policy in New York, New Jersey, and Connecticut. There are two outstanding proposals awaiting board approval that we would like to comment on this morning. The first is a toll proposal. We support the modified toll proposal that increases tolls for both Easy Pass and cash payers, with a steeper increase for those who pay cash. And we applaud Chairman Walder's decision to present this as the sole toll proposal being considered today. The previous and eliminated proposal to increase cash tolls while keeping Easy Pass tolls the same favors people who can afford to own cars, while those who cannot afford a car and must rely on transit will be impacted by a fare increase. It is important to incentivize a shift to Easy Pass, but such incentives must be part of a balanced package that consider benefits and impacts to both transit riders and drivers. Generally, transit riding households make about half of those who own cars. The MTA tried to minimize the burden on low-income transit users by looking at the economic data of its ridership. Such analysis for drivers should accompany toll proposals as well. As the MTA continues to explore ways to deliver benefits to its customers, we urge the agency to expand its pilot of non-stop tolls and cashless tolling on the Henry Hudson Bridge to other MTA toll facilities, to consider a variable tolling proposal which could deliver air quality and traffic relief benefits by redistributing traffic according to time of day, and to evaluate fare and toll proposals together, not separately, to create a package of options aimed at delivering the most equitable transportation policy. The second proposal on the table today involves MTA's contribution to Long Island Bus. As the board makes a decision in the next few months whether to continue funding the bus system, we ask that the $30 million annual LI bus riders are kept at the forefront of the discussion. The elimination of privatization of service, the likely outcome of the MTA's proposal to end its contribution, would have significant economic impacts on bus riders. We urge the MTA and Nassau County to negotiate in good faith to deliver the best service for Long Island residents. Thank you.
Thank you. Our next speaker is Artina Hannon, Sustainable Long Island, followed by Joseph Cardinale, David Kupferberg, and then our last speaker, Matt Shotkin.
Good morning. My name is Artina Haban, and I am a community planner at Sustainable Long Island, a regional non-for-profit organization whose mission is to promote community and economic development, environmental health, and social equity for all Long Islanders now and for generations to come. I'm here to talk about the MTA plans to cut the $26 million allocation to Long Island Bus. We work with communities across Long Island and recognize that adequate public transportation is critical to the livelihood of many low-income and marginalized communities. Nassau County's Long Island Bus serves over 32 million riders a year, over 100,000 riders a day, and is an integral component of Nassau County's transit system, fostering economic development, reducing congestion, and protecting the environment. MTA's plan to cut its $26 million allocation to Long Island Bus would discontinue the service completely and be detrimental to Long Island's most economically distressed communities. None of this information is news to you on the board, but we must continue to speak up and represent so many Nassau County residents, including our low-wage workforce, seniors, physically disabled, as well as young adults that do not have access to cars and would be stranded with little to no options to get around. This would affect the livelihood of many families, as it would be very difficult for them to access their jobs, goods, and even education, and put their well-being in jeopardy. By cutting Long Island bus service, we are depriving Nassau County residents of basic daily functions that every Long Islander and human being should be able to accomplish. Respectively, the Long Island bus cut would significantly affect the economic development of the region and contribute to losses in jobs and businesses, as residents would not be able to travel to maintain and support them. We must not minimize the fact that Long Island bus ridership increased in the months preceding the major service cuts that took place in late June of 2010, and Long Island's bus ridership outpaced the targeted ridership by almost 2%. This means that not only do more people recognize and prefer to use public transportation, they need to use public transportation.
Please summarize.
Okay. The MTA should consider increasing tolls, and we urge the MTA to work with Nassau County to find a sustainable solution to Long Island Bus. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, Joseph Cardinale, and David Kupferberg. And lastly, Matt Shotkin.
Good morning, gentlemen. My name is Joseph Cardinale. I live in Nassau County in Elmont, Long Island.
I've been traveling the buses over the last 40 years, and I do not drive. I have no license. There's no way for me to get around. I go by bus to work. I go by bus to doctors. Everything is all done by doctors. I have two organizations which I belong to. One of them is the Knights of Columbus. The other one is used to be with children. There's two organizations that I have to go to. It's part of my my jobs. Not only with my regular job, but with that job too. It's all volunteer work with the Knights of Columbus, and the only way I can get around is by buses. And if people ask me to come, how am I going to get there if the buses don't run? That's number one. Number two, I've been riding the buses too long. Having to see something like this is crazy. This is ridiculous. Should not have to be. Now I'm hearing privatization. It's not right. It's not fair. I mean, Long Island bus has been out for 35 some odd years. Used to be the Beeline bus. Then it was this Metropolitan Suburban Transit. Now it's MTA Long Island bus. I mean, well, what's it going to be next? Thank you.
Thank you. David Kupferberg.
David Kupferberg, member of Committee for Better Transit, founded by the late Stephen Dobrow in 1962. Most board members claimed at the special board meeting on October 7th that voting against the fare increase was the easy way out. They forgot what they learned in college-level psychology. Voting in favor of the fare increase was the easy way out. What ensued at that meeting was textbook psychological warfare. Those who voted in favor of the increase drowned out the voices of reason. These members even refused to entertain alternatives, especially those proposed by the general public. CBT brought forth a three-pronged proposal at the public hearings. Force the state government to assume the MTA's debt service except those passed via the referendum. Ban the MTA from assuming more debt service except those passed via the referendum. And increase the income tax for those making more than $200,000 by a modest 1%. In summary, eliminate the debt service, eliminate the deficit, plain and simple. The debacle that ensued on October 7th is proof that the people should take control of the MTA board by having them replaced, except the chairman, with our locally elected officials. After all, we mustn't give Jay Walder a $500,000 goodbye present. Remember, MTA board, you reap what you sow.
Our last speaker, Matt Chuck.
Good morning. If Murray Bowden can bring in a condom, I can bring in a bag of lunch and not get it noticed. I used the SBSs for the first time on October 10th. I like two things about it. The first thing that I like about it is the lit SBS signs on the sides of the buses. I think that they're very helpful. The second thing I like about it is that you get a proof of payment, white receipt to show to the driver. That too is good. Finally, there were MTA agents in vests at the various stops on October 10th to show you how to use the SBS machine, just in case you didn't know how to use it. And for the record, they are still there today. They've also, since it's been implemented, have now expanded the receipt to accept them on local buses as well. The way of the future could be the STSs replacing the current machines. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and that concludes today's public speaking session.
Doug, thank you very much, and thank you to our public speakers. As the first order of business, may I ask for a vote to approve the minutes of the September board meeting?
Motion made.
Do I have a second?
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. The first order of business for us today is the increase in tolls on our bridges and tunnels. If you think about this, this is really the final action that we're taking that is complementing, in a sense, the actions that we took at the special board meeting to increase the fares on our subway, bus, and commuter rail systems as well. I don't want to repeat everything that was said at that early meeting. I don't think it's important to do it now. But I would make just 2 points. One is that The increases that we've adopted, that we adopted already and that we will consider today, were part of an overall package that was adopted to be able to assist the MTA. Those new revenue sources are bringing in over $1 billion annually to the MTA and remain a very significant part of what we're doing. And I think second, I think we should repeat again, despite the fact that we recognize that the revenues that were intended to come to the MTA have fallen far short of what the numbers were that were expected, by the actions that this board took and the management team of the MTA took over the last year, we have been able to hold the fare and toll increases to the agreed level of 7.5% increase in revenue yield. In regard specifically to the toll increase, at our July board meeting, we presented a proposal which would have been an across-the-board increase in all of our tolls. I think one of the points here is that through the public hearing process, comments were made that encouraged us to think differently about this proposal. Comments came out of that process that suggested that we should look to how the fares could be done while retaining the same amount of revenue in a way that would encourage Easy Pass use. And under the proposal that had been suggested, cash fares would have risen to $7 and Easy Pass fares would not have increased at all. I would say I think we've spent a lot of time thinking about that proposal. We took it very, very seriously. And indeed, I have to say, I think, at least on a personal basis, that encouraging people to use Easy Pass is something that I'm strongly attracted to. And I think there's an element there that we should all be strongly attracted to. It is the way in which we are able to efficiently operate our bridges and tunnels. It's environmentally effective in doing it. And I think we've been able to do it in a very effective way. At the same time, I think that several board members commented to me that they were concerned about the fact that there is a parity to some extent between our bridges and tunnels and our transit system. The fact is that in the creation of the MTA, putting the bridges and tunnels and the transit system together was one of the fundamental underpinnings of the MTA, of the board that we sit on here. And I think there was a discomfort about the fact that for Easy Pass riders that the tolls would not go up at all under the proposal that had been suggested. I think those points are again equally well taken in the process that we have here. So after reviewing the pros and cons of the various alternatives, we settled on a final proposal that incorporates some elements of each. The proposal presented today to the board for approval will raise the 7.5% increase in revenue that we had intended to do. It protects mobility in the region, increases the efficiency of our operations. It would increase the cash tolls by more, but not to $7 to $6.50. It would increase the Easy Pass amounts, but it would increase it by a lower amount than we had otherwise been doing. And again, I think we are in this way using pricing to encourage people to shift to the mode of payment that is most effective and most efficient. I think it is a compromise, but I think it's a thoughtful compromise that I hope we can adopt as an organization, and we've heard some speakers speak to it in different ways. Last point I'd make about this, there can be a tendency to think as we're raising fares and tolls that we in some way take our foot off of the pedal of trying to do cost saving and efficiency in our organization. Nothing can be further from the truth. We need to recognize in adopting this fare and toll proposal in the thoughts that the board had in doing this, that we committed ourselves to continuing to search for efficiencies in our organization. We committed ourselves to achieving efficiencies in our organization in much the way that we've been achieving efficiencies already, but more so, harder in being able to do it. We also recognized, and again, I would underscore this to the members of the board, and I think many people spoke to it, that in adopting these proposals, it is our intent not to have further cuts in service. That would be there as well. So when I talk about efficiencies, it's efficiencies in the way we operate our services, not reducing the services that we are providing to the public. So this is a little bit complicated in terms of the way we need to do it. I'd like to give anyone who would like to speak an opportunity to speak on the toll proposals. But the toll proposal is actually broken into two parts, and if you'll bear with me, the first action is for adoption of a resolution making the required environmental determinations on the toll proposal. It's not on the proposal itself. What I'd like to do is ask for a motion and a vote on that, and then move to the toll proposal, at which point I would pause for discussion unless there's something that someone specifically wants to say about the environmental analysis.
I move we adopt the environmental assessment.
Have a second? Second. In favor? Aye. Were you looking to speak on this part, Alan? No, okay. Yeah, okay. Opposed? Thank you. Okay, and then the second action is the actual adoption of the toll increases. They are contained in the staff summary that has been presented to the board. I have described them in general terms in my opening remarks here today. Can I have a motion on that? Do I have a second? Second. Discussion. Pat?
Jay, I'm voting in favor of the toll increases. I'm obviously a victim of the psychological warfare that one of the speakers referred to. I thought it was, I want to be brief and just explain why I'm doing it. Recognizing three things. One, recognizing the MTA's fiscal crisis, which is real and serious. Secondly, recognizing that New York State took away over $180 million. I reiterate my concern from the fare increase meeting about the MTA continuing to play by Emily Post's rules of etiquette. There's no evidence I'm aware of that such action is acknowledged or respected in Albany. Third, I recognize that bridges and tunnels subsidize mass transit, including Long Island bus. Fourth, some have asked why this intense focus on Long Island bus and why the willingness on the part of Nassau County and the Nassau County representative on the MTA board to consider any and all actions to thwart the proposed budget cut of $26 to $30 million support for Long Island bus, and here's the way we think about it. The Long Island Railroad, the busiest commuter railroad in the country, carries 80 million people a year. That's an extraordinary achievement. Long Island bus carries 30 million a year. That's about 40% of the number of passengers carried by the Long Island Railroad. And the way I look at it, and I think the way my friends and neighbors in Nassau County look at it, is what would Nassau County do if the Long Island Railroad were to be eliminated? Or what would Long Island do, Nassau County do in particular, if 40% of the service on the Long Island Railroad were to be eliminated? The human, social, and economic development adverse impacts of that, I think, would be clear to everybody. Having said that, I tend to vote in favor of the toll increase. Thank you, Jay.
Thank you. Further comments? Andrew?
I want to speak in support of this proposal that's on the table today, not because I'm a fan of higher fares or higher tolls, but because I'm a fan of fairness. And having voted to increase fares on our transit and commuter rail system, and it would just be so unfair to let motorists off the hook. And then there's the issue of those funds helping to subsidize mass transit, as Pat has mentioned. So, you know, I think from a fairness point of view, I think that the only correct vote, having taken the other one, is the vote that you proposed today. And obviously, there's tons of reasons why we would like to move customers to Easy Pass and away from cash. And, you know, hopefully the Henry Hudson experiment will be a huge success, and we can move that way on the other crossings as well. So if I had a vote today, I would vote with you.
Thank you. Further discussion? Alan?
Well, first of all, I'd like to thank the chair and my fellow board members for actually taking seriously some of the comments that came out of the public hearings, especially those in Staten Island, if you were there. We had a very good conversation that night at the St. George Theater, and at that time, Borough President Molinaro offered the cash plan, and it was, I think, very well received, and there was a lot of support for us. And for a board that gets criticized for having public hearings that are essentially foregone conclusions, I think that it's important that this vote today and this proposal is important because it, number one, shows that we can think outside the box, and when and recognize a good idea and adopt it. Adopted accordingly. So for those of you who were there and those of you who weren't there who paid attention to the idea, I offer my thanks. That's not to say that I'm happy about increasing tolls. As someone who lives in Staten Island and feels a very close relationship with the people of the Rockaways, two communities that are captives in our toll system, I believe that the way that we collect tolls, and when I say we, I mean the way that the state of New York and the city of New York has its toll policy is geographically unfair. And we don't achieve that which we could be achieving if people of goodwill sat down and actually looked at this in a serious manner. Apparently, it's the de facto public policy of this state to use the excess revenue from bridges and tunnels to fund mass transit. However, we only impose that public policy on a very select group of people, which creates all kinds of traffic nightmares and geographical discrimination. And that really needs to be remedied. It can't be remedied by us. We don't have the authority to seize other locations and come up with a fairer plan, but a fairer plan could exist, which would increase the base of revenue for transportation users, could actually bring down the costs, could provide time of day discounting on some, which would give the mayor a lot of what he seeks to achieve in his congestion pricing proposals in the past, and would be a system that would help manage traffic better and be fairer to all New Yorkers in the region. We're not there. I hope that during my term on this board, we get to a point where we can be dealing with this in a responsible fashion, that the state and the city get together with us and help us fashion a plan that would achieve that. So we're left with a decision which, I heard before somebody saying the easier vote is to do this or the easier vote is to do that. I haven't had an easy vote on this board. There are no options that make me happy at the end of the day. It's basically surviving. I got onto this board. There was a $2 billion deficit. I spent the last year with Jay Walder and the rest of you trying to find a way to be able to run a system that is vital to the interests of every New Yorker in the region, whether they actually use the system or not. It's a system that we cannot allow to fail. My hat is off to Jay and the staff for the unbelievable reduction in costs in this place. The amount of money that they have achieved and that we have achieved together in savings of $500 million is an astounding figure. And I have the service cuts and the fare hikes that would be necessary to do that, and the toll hikes, but for those actions, really should not go unacknowledged. And yes, we have a lot more to be done. We need to get less expensive. We need to keep thinking outside the box and looking for ways to be innovative. I like what I see in terms of the team that's been put together. In the spirit of getting us to that day where we can actually have fairness for everybody, I intend to vote yes on this plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Other comments? Hearing none, if I can call for then a vote. In favor? Aye. Opposed? Okay. I record one no vote. Let me also thank Jimmy Farrar and the team at Bridges and Tunnels. I think as we considered, and people have commented about the consideration that we gave of various proposals. That consideration means running endless numbers of scenarios, doing lots of work to be able to convince ourselves that we can implement things both administratively and management-wise, but also to protect the revenue stream that we know we need to be able to protect and we said would come out of that. I think Jimmy and his team went through any number of hoops to be able to help us to do that, and we should recognize them here today. We move to the report on the Committee of Finance. Thank you. Andrew?
There are two action items. The first action item is the authorization of a swap novation associated with Transportation Revenue Variable Bonds Series 2005E. The second item is a revision to the all-agency investment guidelines, and I move these action items.
In favor? Opposed? Thank you.
There are 4 non-competitive procurements in the amount of $785,516, and I move these procurements.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
There are 2 competitive procurements in the amount of $671,600, and I move these procurements.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
There is 1 ratification in the amount of $219,580, and I move these procurements.
Second? In favor? Opposed? Thank you.
There are 8 real estate action items this month, which are described in the board materials, and I move these action items.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, that includes the finance report.
Thank you. The report from the Transit Committee. Doreen, please.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. We have 2 action items. The first is a modification to establish new intermediate milestone dates for Contract C 26503, construction of running tunnels and station structures for the number 7 line extension to S311 Tunnel Constructors JV. The second modifies the contract with 250 East 87th Street Owners Corp. The committee recommends these action items, and I move them.
In favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
There are 15 procurements totaling $242.2 million. 4 are non-competitive in the amount of $1.4 million. And please note, this includes a non-competitive procurement to Boyce Technologies for HealthPoint Intercom prototypes in the amount of $220,000. This was distributed to board members after the book went out. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
In favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
There are 9 competitive procurements in the amount of $239.7 million. The committee also recommends these, and they are moved.
In favor? Opposed? Thank you.
And finally, there are 2 ratifications in the amount of $1.1 million. These are also recommended, and I move them.
In favor? Opposed? Thank you.
That does it.
Thank you very much. The Committee on Bus Operations. Nancy.
There is 1 non-competitive procurement in the amount of $40.5 million. The committee recommended this. I move it.
In favor? Opposed?
There were 10 competitive procurements in the amount of $110.8 million. The committee recommended these as well, and I move them.
Second.
In favor? Opposed?
Lastly, there is 1 ratification in the amount of $249,900,000. The committee recommended this procurement, and I move it.
In favor? Opposed?
Thank you.
I want to make one note, if I can, on an item that we just dealt with, which has to do with voucher-based car services. I think many people have talked about the need for us to do more of this. It's come up at this board any number of times. But there's also another point, I think, that was in here that I don't want to miss. Of the 24 awards that we made, 8 are being awarded to minority and women-owned firms. And I think that's a terrific achievement. I would also say that achievement came about not by accident. That achievement came about because of an extraordinary amount of outreach and working together that was done, led by Michael Garner, but also including Steve Polchachi and Lou Montanti. And we worked and went out to communities and sought to find people who could provide the services who were minority and women-owned firms to be able to do that. We spent a lot of time, talking about results in doing this. It's hard to find a clearer example than this of actually, not trying to talk about efforts, but to talk about results. And I think it's important to stop just for a moment and to recognize that. And Michael, in particular, thank you very much. I really appreciate the effort that we've made to be able to do this. The report on railroads. Jim, I think this is your turn.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman. The MTA Railroad's on-time performance during the month of September was in excess of 95%. There is one action item. The action item is for revised special service commissary prices effective January 1st, 2011 for both the Long Island Railroad and Metro North Railroad. The committee recommends this action, and I move it.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
There are two non-competitive procurements, one for the Long Island Railroad and one for Metro North, totaling $170,106. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
There are 10 competitive procurements, 6 for the Long Island Railroad, 2 for Metro North, and 2 for the MTA Capital Construction Company, in the total amount of $26.707 million. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
Second.
Mr. Chairman, on the Booz Allen Hamilton contract on the police radios, I just want to thank Kalina Williams and Bill Moran for getting me some additional information and for agreeing to bring the contract back to the board before taking the next step of construction and design. I would ask that the assessment done by Booz Allen and Hamilton not only includes all the alternatives for police interoperability, because it is an extremely expensive proposition, but also includes some analysis of the benefit and increase to public safety that it will provide. I think that will help us make a decision in moving forward on a potentially extremely expensive project that may or may not be necessary. But I hope that the analysis on the improvement of public safety will provide us with that information. Thanks.
Thank you. I think we have a motion and a second. In favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
There are no ratifications this month. This concludes the Railroad Committee report.
And finally, we move to the Committee on Bridges and Tunnels.
Mr. Chairman, Bridges and Tunnels Committee, the short name for which is Triborough Bridge and Tunnel Authority, met this month. There are no non-competitive procurements. There are 2 competitive procurements in the amount of $7,082,000. The committee recommends these procurements, and I move them.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And there is one ratification in the amount of $294,000. The committee recommends this procurement, and I move it.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
This concludes Bridges and Tunnels Committee report.
Thank you. And as again, I think speakers have mentioned, we are aggressively moving to implement and move forward with the pilot on all electronic tolling. You've taken some actions again today that help to facilitate that process. Jimmy and his team are moving forward on it very much, and I'm very hopeful that this will herald a new era in terms of our ability to be able to collect tolls efficiently and minimize environmental damage at our toll plazas as well. With that, I would ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Motion made.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
And then thank you very much.
Well done, Jimmy.
I gotta start discussing the MTA Railroad.
Good morning. How are you? Me too.
Governor Christie is expected to announce today that he's going to kill the ARC tunnel for good. I just wanted to get your take on that and was wondering if you've been in any discussions with the federal government about getting some of that money for the MTA's capital program.
I think the ARC project is an important project. I certainly understand the financial constraints that the governor's been talking about, and it's their decision in terms of what they're ultimately going to do. If there are more resources available in the federal level, we will certainly stake our claim to that. This is by far the single most important, the single most important public transit system in the country.
and we'll continue to press with the federal government for every dollar of support that we can possibly get.
On that same topic, we saw earlier this week what could happen at Penn Station when there's a problem with any of the three railroads that operate there. Obviously, the ARC project would have increased capacity. Any concerns about the impact on the Long Island Railroad and its future in Penn Station without the ARC tunnel project?
Well, I think the most important thing about Long Island Railroad and Penn Station is that we're in the midst of building East Side access. I mean, this is a fundamental change to the operations of Long Island Railroad. It's a $7.7 billion project that will create the access for Long Island Railroad to Grand Central Terminal. It gives us a flexibility that we would not have otherwise. Penn Station is a station that is extremely heavily used. It is used by three railroads. And I think one of the other points that comes out of it is that, in fact, difficulties that occur at any one part inevitably affect the operations of the other railroads as well. And for Long Island riders who I know have been frustrated by some of the work that we did this past weekend, which was planned work to be able to replace the signal tower, to see the disruption that took place a day or two later was frustrating. And maybe doubly frustrating to know that it's not something that had anything at all to do with us, but that the impact came. Nevertheless, it's real.
The officials had frustrations of their own, sir, in that New York wasn't coming up with $1 to support that tunnel. Is that a fair criticism, and do you think there should have been some consideration on the New York side of financial support for that tunnel project?
I'm actually not really familiar with the details of that project and the financing for that project. It's my understanding, however, that the Port Authority was actually contributing, I believe, $3 billion to that project, which I believe is the Port Authority of New York and New Jersey.
Cameron, if the more federal funds were available, can you tell us where that would be directed to, if there's a higher priorities than others, or just in general go to the capital plan?
Well, we have a capital plan right now for which we have received the approval of the Capital Program Review Board for 5 years, but only funding for the first 2 years of that capital program. We have approximately a $10 billion deficit in that program right now that we need to fill, and I think any federal monies that would be available would go to meeting the needs as identified in that capital program. Michael?
Sorry about that. Andrew Cuomo put out an urban planning platform that included a few comments on the MTA, and it included no mention of any sort of additional revenue streams or subsidies for the authority. And asked about this, he said that new revenue sources would not be his first priority if he were to take the governor's office. Is it still critical to be finding new revenue streams to support the authority at this point?
Well, I mean, I think, first off, as I think I've consistently said throughout this process, I'm going to try to stay away from commenting on the campaign. I think I've held to that position so far. I think we have 6 days to go until the election. I think I'll stay in that place right now. Clearly, finding ways to be able to meet the capital needs of the MTA, as we've identified in our capital plan, remains a high priority.
What direct message, sir, would you have to drivers as they pay higher tolls coming across? What good does it do, or that sort of thing, if you can somehow give them something to hang on to here?
Well, I think there is a long-standing policy in this region that the revenues from our bridges and tunnels under the MTA's control would be used to support the public transit system, as well as to meet the operating and capital needs of the bridges and tunnels as well. We had an overall plan for the MTA that called for fare and toll increases to take place. That plan has now been implemented in terms of the actions of the board. We have worked hard, very hard, to keep to the 7.5% yield increase that was intended despite the shortfall in state revenues that were there. And that's only been possible as a result of the more than $500 million of cost savings that the MTA has identified to be able to support our budget.
Could I follow up for 1 second? The AAA has put out some figures saying, claiming that the increase in tolls will drive down the number of vehicles and thus reduce your yield. Do you have any such fears?
Well, I think if the increases in tolls were to move more people over to public transit, I'm not sure it would be the worst thing in the world. We do take into account the fact that increases in prices do, in fact, change the utilization of the facility, and that has been taken into account.
How likely is it that you'll have to borrow the $10 billion to finish up the capital program? And if you did, what kind of impact would that have on the budget in the out years?
There is at this point, no specific plan to be able to close the $10 billion gap. That's a series of discussions that will have to take place looking forward.
Your plan doesn't call, as I understand it, for another fare or toll increase until 2013. How confident are you that you can keep what amounts to a promise to drivers and to subway and bus and rail riders and to hold the line, no more increases? Can you rule that out right now?
Well, I think we tried to make, we put forth in July a preliminary financial plan for the MTA that showed how we would be able to hold to the fare and toll increases that we've done right now, maintain the schedule that had been put forth and agreed by the governor and the legislature back in 2009, which called for periodic fare increases and toll increases in 2011 and 2013. And I think importantly, in picking up off comments from several members of our board of directors, that would look to do this without incurring additional service cuts that would take place in our region. That plan reflects the fact that our financial situation remains difficult and dire. It calls on further efficiencies to be achieved, even beyond the $500 million of efficiencies that we've done so far. It would increase the level of efficiencies to $750 million in just a couple of years. Moreover, it looks at ways in which we can partner with labor to be able to reduce some of the cost structure that we have there on a going forward basis, not looking to open old agreements, but look at things on a going forward basis. We will have to achieve all of those things to make this possible, but it is very much doable and it's very much possible. We will also have to retain the critical support, and I can't underscore it enough, from the federal government and the state government to be able, and the local governments to be able to support the MTA.
So, sir, are you prepared then to rule out a fare and toll increase before 2013?
I think what I've said is we have put forth plans to show how we'll be able to do it. As our intent to stay with the schedule that had been adopted, regular periodic fare increases in 2011 as we've just done it, and 2013, and our plans are to stay with that.
We continue to hear from elected officials, candidates, members of the public about the MTA's supposed two sets of books. Can you speak to the frustration that this might cause and the integrity of the MTA's accounting?
Well, I think we've worked very hard over the time that I've been here to show people that we're attacking and overhauling the MTA and doing everything that's there. We have been open and transparent in a way that I think is probably unprecedented. I think everyone... the use of the internet, the way that we publish materials, the discussions that we're having at board meetings. It's an old phrase, but I think anyone who is following the MTA right now will see that this is an open and transparent organization.
Board Member Frasca asked for some additional information regarding a consultant. It was one of the non-competitive procurements from headquarters. She asked for that during the Finance Committee meeting on Monday. Do you know if that information was provided to her before the vote today?
I believe that the questions raised by board members were provided to board members, and I believe that all of the actions taken by the board today were adopted on a unanimous basis, with the exception of the toll increase.
And one other thing, people we ride the subway. We've noticed we've been waiting longer. Trains are a little more crowded. Jay, you ride the subway too. Could you describe what it's been for you, what it's been like for you to ride the subway since the service cuts?
I think that we have continued to provide a very high quality of service. I think that I, as well as many other people, are frustrated on the weekends as we are undertaking a massive capital construction program at the same time that we're operating services. New York City Transit is working very hard to be able to provide those services under those periods, but I think we're going to have to recognize that the need to be able to rebuild our infrastructure is largely going to be undertaken on nights and weekends, and that is going to have an impact in the way that we do it. I think the service has been and continues to be an excellent public service.